the Santo Pekoa airport on the island of Espiritu Santo in Vanuatu. Today is Wednesday the 5th of December 1984 and we are expecting the arrival of a demonstration flight by the Havilland -8 aircraft, shortly due to arrive from Port Vila with some VIPs on board who will be staying at Santo for a short time, while some of the VIPs from Santo district will be taken on a local demonstration flight. Welcome to Santo, Mr. President. Good, thank you. Hello, Mr. President. Hello, Prime Minister.
I'll get the way, Bob.
Oh, I've got to get the chief pilot in. We got that too.
Hey, just pick up sounds.
Oh yes, very accurately. That's alright, come up.
Okay, right up like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Look like you're a passenger.
Yeah, right. Disconnected? Yeah, it doesn't matter now anyway. Now really, I get him out of the way.
regular Solair flight scheduled from Port Vila to Santo to Honiara. Came into Santo in the morning and being fairly calm weather, and parked in this position here. The Aztec aircraft was not here at the time. I parked with the tail on the right and nose on the left as we look at it, just across the line by the baggage trolley there. On departure, the ground power unit, which has its plug over there, was connected up, and because of the rather awkward positioning of the aircraft, the wire was almost at its limit and came around the left side behind the main wheels underneath the aircraft across to behind the right engine, and was then plugged into the engine. One Santo traffic staff was in front during the start, and one staff was standing by the ground power unit. When the pilot signalled for the power unit to be taken off, this was duly done, and as the power unit was pulled away behind the aircraft, the wire from the main supply to the power unit appeared to be caught underneath the wheel, the left main wheel. So the traffic officer in the front then came around the left side of the aircraft to assist in retrieving this wire, and in doing this he did not give an all clear signal to the pilot. While the two traffic officers were clearing the ground power unit, the pilot then proceeded to taxi, and doing a fairly sharp right turn, turned into the fuel bowser unit, making contact with the starboard engine, which we'll see shortly. Henry, our local controller, was on duty at the time. Henry, just tell me what happened from your point of view. After startup, the two boys were then clearing the ground power unit, and I understand the pilot then called for a taxi clearance. Is that right?
Yeah, the aircraft was still stationary when the pilot called for taxi instructions, and after giving the instructions, having looked out and could feel, I put my head down to put down the information on the traffic sheet, during which time I heard the blast. So as soon as I looked out, I saw the right hand side propeller crashed into the fuel pump.
Okay, so while you were busy writing the flight plan information down, the aircraft commenced to taxi, and so at that time you weren't actually watching the aircraft, and so you were not aware of him actually turning into the fuel unit.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, you good no more? Okay, so the aircraft was parked pointing towards us here. As I said, the Aztec aircraft was not there at the time. And Traffic Officer Jerry Quarty, turn around Jerry, was standing about where I am with the camera. And the pilot started both engines and then gave the all clear for the ground power unit to be taken away. Is that right, Jerry? And another traffic officer, Daniel, then removed the ground power unit, but having to go away from the camera position behind the parked aircraft, the main lead, which was about at its maximum, appeared to become caught in the left wheel of the Metro, which would be just behind where Jerry's standing now. So Jerry then moved around clear of the wing and went round to release this caught rope. And while he was doing this, the pilot then started to taxi, and the traffic officer actually had not given him a thumbs up. However, many of the pilots, in fact most of the both Air Melanesia and Solair pilots, tend to move off without awaiting a clearance, so this was actually not unusual, and so I don't think this could be attributed to being a fault of a traffic officer on duty. However, we'll see what's actually happened. While the traffic officer was clearing the ground power unit and the aircraft commenced to taxi, he did a fairly sharp right turn and then contacted one of the bowser units, the jet bowser unit, which was out. It's normally out, and this is in anticipation of refueling, because at the moment we have a lot of aircraft coming and going, and particularly with the northern short sectors we are refueling just about every second sector, so it's normal practice and has been for the last 10 years that I've been here to have the bowser units out all the time. Now, as you can see, the damage is rather catastrophic. It's taken off the tips of the 3 propeller blades and various portions thereof. The hydrant unit originally looked more or less like this one, in fact exactly like that one, and that there is where it plugs into the ground. The hose has been thrown all around, and the unit is actually upside down now. Pieces of the pipework have been chopped off, pieces of the hose have been severed, and one wheel, which has a solid rubber tyre on it, has been hurled into the side of the fuselage, and part of the rubber work is actually embedded into the pressure hull of the fuselage. And I haven't had a look inside, but it appears to be well into the aircraft. And another piece of metal, possibly off the propeller, has lodged into the underside of the aircraft, putting quite another large hole in the underside of the fuselage. There's a piece of pipe work off the hydrant which was completely cut. That's the wheel on the hydrant. One of the propeller blades. The second propeller blade. And the third propeller blade. So, Civil Aviation has now been up. It's now Sunday the 9th of December. Civil Aviation has been up and have given the all clear for us to clean the area. However, we will leave the aircraft until the Solair engineer comes as the pilot, and passengers have gone to Vila, I believe. So, the Solair arrival and almost departure from Santo, Pekoa is going to be a rather expensive exercise. The airport has two fire vehicles, a large Bedford truck and a smaller Jeep unit. And these are on standby during the startup period. And while the two traffic officers were freeing the ground power and clearing it from the aircraft, as the aircraft taxied, there was quite a loud banging noise as the propeller contacted the hydrant unit, and the traffic staff ducked for cover. The fire crew came out, and apparently they sprayed, I believe, water across the engine because the engine emitted quite a bit of smoke. Whether this was due to some shock loading on the engine or whether the pilot did something, I don't know, but there was no apparent fire. But the fire crew were on duty and actually did spray water over the engine.